Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for September 2, 2022, the Wife 2 edition. And we begin with that story from Al Jazeera, which tells us that a court in Kuala Lumpur has found Romash Mansour, the wife of disgraced and convicted felon, former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak, guilty of seeking and receiving bribes in exchange for a government contract. This, of course, relates to the 1MDB imbroglio, which has engulfed the country for many years. But more importantly, she was sentenced to 12 years in prison. So finally bringing some of the criminals in Malaysia to justice. From Reuters, untoward news at JPMorgan's Frankfurt office in Germany, as the office was searched as a part of a long-running investigation into one of the country's biggest finance scandals affecting another global lending giant. The share trading scandal known as Cum-Ex has blighted German political and financial circles for years and cost taxpayers billions of euros. They take healthcare and CEO refreshment very seriously in Russia, as we find that the chairman of Lukoil, Ravil Maganov, fell or was thrown out of a 6th-floor hospital window in Moscow and has died. He is the second senior Lukoil official to die in recent months, and it shows that you can have a serious illness or you can just be seriously at risk in Russia. Boy, they take board refreshment very seriously there. So our final story comes to us from the New York Times that tech companies are slowly shifting production away from China. Worried about geopolitical tensions and stung by pandemic shutdowns, Google, Apple, and others are moving some of the work to nearby countries. This is really no surprise given the supply chain issues, but it does demonstrate that the risk involved in supply chains needs to be managed very carefully and very closely. And as companies began to move away from China and perhaps even Taiwan, given China's overt attentions to Taiwan and attempting or their stated goal to take it back over, this part of the world may be a very risky endeavor or risky bet to have a large number of your supply chain vendors located. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.